comes through for either one of our AD carries. There goes the Varus ban that came in. I'll give you credit once again on you expect this entire series. So, you know, I still see some valuable junglers left up here at the Rumble ban. Xin Zhao is the first thing that would scream up to me if that JunJia wants it, but maybe that bottom lane getting short up early is the plan here, and barred up, Vampire will take it.
This is something that's been banned really consistently against JDG. Teams do not like to play into Bard. I'm actually really surprised that it got through the ban phase here, that something like Nocturne didn't take priority over it, but Bard is going to be that first pick. Notably, Ryze also left on the table if they do want to go for that. We talk about mid lane priority, Orianna off the board. Ryze would definitely rise. Pun not intended, but I'll pretend like it was intended. In popularity here, Kara is also kind of a known Ryze player, but could see that pressure on the bot side.
Hold on. You know what? No. You know what? I had that like guttural reaction. I'm like, Lucian. Ew, I don't like this champion in the meta right now. But then I forgot, Assum has been pretty awesome on this pick already. He already has a winning group percent picking the Lucian. It's very funny, especially if we do get this Nami locked in, because there's always that universally understood meme where it's, you know, the guy walking with his girlfriend, but then he's looking over his shoulder back at the... Lucian's the guy looking back. It used to be him but now it's Nami. We used to look at Corki and look away from Lucian. This point doesn't land anymore, Kman, because I fell for the hover. It's Lucian Melio, so I'm just going to shut up now.
I'm so sorry. So, hey, technically, we could still get Bard and Nami on the other side of this in terms of the bot lane.
I will give you $1 million if Nami gets locked in next to this Bard. I'll give you $1 million.
Tells me that I'll take the bet just in case, but you know,
plus EV.
I think you're probably right here. Xin Zhao going to be the lock-in. You pointed that out. Definitely the top jungler left available, and with bot lane priority becoming so paramount between these two teams, it makes a lot of sense. Ezreal can very well be the pick here. I could also see just you going for Corki and just saying, you know, whatever. Ezreal Bard I think makes a lot of sense. Ezreal can play safe. All the Bard roams around the map, and it does give you some way to poke out in the 2v2. But once again, I think we're actually staring down a 2v2 where JDG don't have the tempo again.
Nope, they don't. And I don't think they ever will. So I don't hate the plan like you outlined where it's like, let's just let Vampire go crazy, pair up with JunJia, partners in crime. We're wrecking havoc top side, we're wrecking havoc mid lane. Gala, just farm well, don't die. You'll get to the 2-item power spike similar time as the rest of us, and that's when we need you most. So it's not a confidence play to help out Gala here, Kman, but I like the look nonetheless from Tabe and the rest of JDG. The Gnar pick, though, was the last one here for Hoya, so we go into the second phase of bans, and, well, for NIP, they're just trying to protect this Gnar pick with the few things you take it away from, and one of those being that dastardly range top pick in the vein. So I like that ban already.
Yeah, I mean, Hoya is a Gnar connoisseur. Going back to his time in the LCK, he has always been somebody who's really preferred this champion to get it at the end of the first rotation and still get some bans out for it. I think is best case scenario for this team. The big question now is what do they want to do with the middle of the map here? Xin Zhao already taken away on the other side. Champions like Skarner are going to get taken off the board. Are you a little bit worried that, you know, some of these other aggressive picks are also going to be gone? Mundo is the only other champion that I believe that Guwon has played this split that is still left available. So could be seeing a ban on that side, but we'll see what they want to go towards here as that final ban.
Well, we'll have to see here what they want to necessarily do. I expect a lot more Zhuo fandom. Maybe not as well eloquently dressed as that one, but I want to see some more Zhuo fans the way this guy's been playing in 2026. Really making bottom lane convos right now in the LPL. An interesting convo, nonetheless. The Cassio ban was the last one we saw there come across for JDG. What does NIP want to try and blind here? And set up in those solo lanes. I refuse to fall for your hovers, Assum. I already had your support bait me on that one. There's a lot of ways that they could go with this here, with the fact they've got the Lucian Melio in that bot side. But yeah, there's a reason we don't fall for hovers here, folks, and that's because Ari's left up and is always a good...
Yeah, that's what I expected.
Dude, I can't win today, bro. I can't.
Yeah, you think you've escaped the hover, but the hover was still there all along.
The hover outlasts time itself. What is this?
It's very funny to me to see JDG ban out the Cassio only to give over the Ryze. Basically telegraphs that they're going to pick a Nivea here, I would imagine, in the mid lane to pair up with the Xin Zhao. I would be really surprised if they went any other direction in terms of this mid lane pick. Outside of that, you still got your top laner to try and play into something like Gnar. There are plenty of options still available, and we'll just see kind of what the comfort is. Xiaoxu likes to go for those more lane-dominant picks. Yorick, if I'm correct, is still up and available. Don't be surprised if that ends up being the answer here.
Xiaoxu also hangs a lot of his hat on the Jax pick. I think it still feels decently rough into Gnar, but it's a comfort pick of his, and you know, it does really shore up a scaling factor for the top side of JDG here. Anivia and Jax, but my lord, my word, Guwon. All right, Kman, he saw Lee Sin get a win already today, and he's feeling himself. Can't hate the confidence, but I kind of hate the pick.
I feel a little bit better about it here. Yeah,
okay.
I think I can sell you in that I think you are actually, with Lee Sin intervention, looking at 3 winning lanes here in terms of the individual pressure that you are able to output. Ryze is going to have more kill threat than something like Anivia in the early game because of that Lee Sin, and the Gnar actually will be able to tempo out on the top side. If you want to play for grubs or something of that nature, you do really risk a lot of this game, but your mid-game power spike is really big once Ryze ends up getting that Realm Warp available. Yeah. Lucian, obviously, on one item is very dangerous to try and deal with. There is an avenue and a time frame in this game where you're going to have a ton of combat power for NIP, but if you can just survive that, I mean, you're looking at a side lane split push later on in the game with Jax and even like Anivia, Ezreal. You have so much wave control that, you know, JDG, if they can kind of survive the early game, they're going to have a much better shot than they did in game 1.
I could not agree more with your assessment here, Kman, but the worrying thing for JDG fans that you must keep in mind is that game 1 was NIP running over early. Yes, they had the scaling factor. They never needed it. We didn't even reach 30 minutes in that game 1. They scaled faster than expected, and now they're on champions that are defined by their snowballing nature. What an early spot here to really shake up Group Ascent potentially. And a 3-1 NIP start, regardless if they get it done in this game 2 or if they have to do it in game 3, I mean, Kman, that will make NIP staying up in Group Ascend a pretty big reality, but we won't get to those conversations just yet. We'll get to our Jios as we hit the Rift for game number 2. See, this time the fan leader for JDG kind of eased into it this time, Kim. And she's like, I peaked way too hard on the first one. I'm going to work my way up to it as we work our minions up in the lane here. And already you can see Assum and Zhuo getting right back to what they were so successful on in game number 1. Looking for that lane prio. Everyone wants some lane prio here. Xiaoxu is throwing hands as well with Hoya in that mini form. Hoya able to step up more confidently as we have heal traded for exhaust. The classic Kman summoner exchange, as he points it out. And it'll allow both bottom lanes, well, more so JDG, to come away with some prio, actually.
Only Flash remains on the bottom side of the map here for both of these bot lanes, so definitely a little bit of trading aggressively early. Level 2 going to be hit earlier here by JDG across the map. That's actually a really big spike for them to be able to be more aggressive with the way that they path in this early game. A lot of damage coming down. That Jax champ can hurt in the early levels. Definitely want to point out here for JDG in particular that one of the biggest problems that they've run into is that when they play from behind, they get really scared and really passive with the way that they end up playing the map and the fights that they take. This is a team that has really relied on being comfortable and confident in the game, so seeing them get out to even small early push advantages just hopefully will give them the confidence to continue to make plays throughout the rest of the early game.
Confidence has really just been the difference maker in this series so far. Great plays made by NIP, but it all is driven by how confident they are as a unit. So I'm glad we keep harping on that word. The word of the day, confidence. The word of the series, confidence here. Guwon confidently going through his clear at about the same pace as JunJia, as they both are mirrored on their clears. So we'll set up this Lee Sin for a potential gank timer. Hoya, though, does have the wave bouncing back over towards Xiaoxu, who does get a really good reset here, not having to use that teleport. So don't know if we'll get to see that Lee Sin patent level 3 gank in this one.
Yeah, I think they were actually really looking forward to that on the top side of the map. They were going to try and go for something really aggressive. Unfortunately, nothing to be found. I think one of the big things that is going to be, catching my eye in this game is Guwon. We talked about him a ton in game number 1 in terms of how important he is with the engages that he can find. This is a really important Lee Sin game in terms of finding those fights in the early game. You can't really afford to play safe or slow as Lee Sin. You kind of need to snowball this one out of control, and Guwon's going to be the main facilitator to try and make sure these lanes are in as good of a spot as possible.
He's got a long walk ahead of him. Walked all the way down from his Grom. Maybe eyeing the spot side 2v2, which has broken out into a bit of a scuffle. Vampire looking to go on a warding mission, takes a good bit of chunk damage there, and with the sustain of Zhuo's Melio, NIP starting to wrestle some of that lane control we expected from them in the 2v2. Assum gonna dash forward again, force Vampire to flash. The flash follow was mere auto away from first blood, going over to Assum again.
I mean, this bot lane has just looked tremendous. There's nothing really to say outside of that. It's really just been best case scenario overall for this bot lane. I mean, you're looking at a spot now where, of course, JDG obviously need to make sure they're protected under this tower. Gala's in danger.
All right, he's going to arcane shift and flash away from the Sonic Wave. Guwon, good eye there on the Lee Sin skill shot. And just like that, both bottom laners for JDG without flash for the next 5 minutes.
It's once again a bot gap in favor of NIP. Fortunately for JDG, they are kind of familiar with Zhuo here, and this is somebody that obviously they had on their roster last year. They really felt a lot more comfortable with Zhuo towards the end of the year, and he's really making the most of this Milio early on. Him and Assum just feel very comfortable trying to play out these aggressive 2v2s, and fortunately right now there just is no clean answer for JDG. They're going to try and get pressure on the top side, but Hoya, at least for now, playing pretty respectfully. Rise also coming up. This could be actually kind of bad in the worst case scenario for JDG here.
Wow, this is just like game 1. You talked about JunJia was looking for a late invade to try and see if he could steal some camps. He finds no camps. The only one up was the Wolves for Guwon. We'll get started on those. Will be spotted going towards his Gromp. So I wonder if this opens a window here for JunJia, who on the sits out I think can take a dragon down solo. Will look for it. Definitely helps that his mid laner HongQ has gotten a really good trade into care here. So all the prio is kind of lining up for JunJia if he wants to go after this dragon, but looks like he'll just take his respawn Wolves and Gromp himself first.
Yeah, I think this slower-paced early game definitely favors JDG. We can even see that in their isolated lane matchup. Xiaoxu doing a phenomenal job on the top side with that level 6 is going to take a little bit more of an aggressive trade here, but the CS lead does not lie. Slayer, the gold lead, does not lie. Guwon going to be trying to find something in the mid lane, but with dragon spawning, HongQ just has to make sure that he doesn't make a massive mistake with no Rise to be able to capitalize on. So this overall isolated game state so far, I think definitely favoring JDG, even if their bot lane did have to burn some subs.
Yeah, it's all about, can you really punish that NIP? Can you capitalize on that flashless AD carry, turn it into gold? Which, and with the nature of Ezreal, is one of those champions that's hardest to punish in that nature, even without that summoner. Xiaoxu is going to take up 2 turret shots on the TP back here. Good ult there from Hoya. Even gets to throw the big Q onto Xiaoxu and the lane. So that will provide some relief from that now not increasing CS lead you pointed out earlier, Kman.
Yeah, it's kind of neutralized, and that's not great. NIP is going to be starting up on the dragon here. This is essential, in my opinion, for NIP to grab some of these early objectives. Not going to be contested at all here. This should be completely free for Lee Sin. I understand JDG being very cautious around this area, not wanting to, take a fight and lose it, but it should be relatively free as Vampire's going to be in the area. Zhuo and Assum can make their way here.
Hashtag just Bard things, man. Only Bard players run into a Drake pit with no vision, seeing a jungler trying to solo it, and like, hey man, can I hang out here? No, you can't. So Vampire will spot out, as you called out, a nice dragon pull there from Guwon. Chemtech Drake off the board here. Fun fact about Chemtech Drake came out, I don't know how you feel about it, but a lot of people talk about it, I believe, as the best solo dragon to get, like, early on. You want it as a soul, but a lot of people really call the benefits of the stat boost that you get from Chemtech Soul as one of the best ones to open the game with.
I mean, I think it's definitely helpful. I'm of the belief that most of these dragons are helpful, as heal is popped to run away here onto the bottom side. I think you're just happy to take the free stats. I think we definitely have some dragons that are better than others, but you can definitely make the most of both. Right now, Hoya could be in trouble on the top side, though, with those extra stats.
Yeah, I think this guy's dead. He just went into mini as well. Wave is there. HongQ here with JunJia. Nice little overload. Hoya is deciding to take the path less travel, which is delay, delay, delay. Problem is, Wind becomes lightning connected before he flashed, and the stun lands from HongQ. First blood in the pocket of the Anivia. JDG out to a 1,000 gold lead.
Yeah, I think he used his flash there to try and get as little kill participation over to the other side as possible, but there was no way that was ever going to be the case. It ends up just being a completely wasted summoner and a kill on the top side, which is a really big win for JDG. Again, them getting that pressure in the early game matters. Guwon gonna try and take away as much as he can on the bottom side in this vertical jungle situation because of that, with that bot lane pressure that he's been able to generate, but that's sacrificing the grubs on the top side, which will be going over to JDG. And let's not forget, let's look at this JDG comp. They love grubs. Jax, Anivia, Ezreal, they would love to play side lanes as this game goes longer.
Yeah, and they got just the formula to do so. JunJia even going to be able to try and at least look to steal away a blue buff here. Guwon running over. Zhuo on a bit of a warding mission, so JunJia will try back out. Hoya's here to cover. Realm Warp coming through. Hoya needs to get this Narbar stacked up. JunJia, remember, doesn't have flash. He used it earlier to kill off Hoya. The Crescent Guard timed well with that ult from Hoya, so he drags JunJia back in with him. And now both mid laners get gifted a first kill here as we split one apiece in the early window.
This is the massive mistake that you cannot be making in the early game here as HongQ's in danger.
He's going to flash for the kick. Care gets the root down. HongQ, remember, still has that passive form as Zhuo joins the fray as well. HongQ, though, going to flash towards the portal, and Vampire gets him out. Topside, Xiaoxu looks like he tried to dive onto Hoya. And a couple autos making the difference there. Nobody dying on the top side. NIP moving as a unit back through the bot river.
We are getting action everywhere across the map right now, Slayer, and it is fun action. I think the gold is going into the right spots. That's the kind of mistake I was going to say earlier that you can't really make against Ryze, and that's the reason that that champion feels so strong right now in the meta. It's just because it's so easy to be able to punish overextensions. We see the dive onto the top side, just barely not enough damage from Xiaoxu. Almost picked up that solo kill, but isn't quite able to do it. He still continues to grow his lead pretty heavily on the top side of the map, but gold is almost even between these two teams, with the Lucian and the Jax definitely taking priority for each.
That Lucian, awesome. Up to about nearing, more closer to 400 of a gold lead, the largest gold lead in the game, but that's not enough really to cut it for me. Still need to see that get higher in priority as JunJia once again gets caught in the same exact spot here. Hoya doesn't have the Mega Narbar, but the flash forward from Care gets the root, and JunJia just dies again. The same transgressions, the definition of insanity is repeating the same action over and over again, expecting a different result, and we don't have a different result for JunJia.
I mean, he's trying to invade topside with this vertical jungle on vision when the mid laner doesn't have priority. It's just a mistake from JunJia. There's nothing else to say. It's a really bad play. He doesn't really get anything out of that and ends up giving more gold over to this Ryze, who is now at 2 kills. If he can finish this Roa relatively quickly and essentially match the timer from HongQ, that's a big problem for JDG, who did a good job of generating a bit of a gold lead in the mid lane early on, using that lane advantage that HongQ has, regularly generated for himself. So again, it's these mental mistakes that are coming back to bite JDG, a team that really does not want to fight specifically right now at this point in the game.
Gotta buy more time if you're JDG. Like you mentioned, scaling items really across the board here, more expensive items for your other members, like Gala, who is still waiting to get towards that Triforce, while Assum, you called out on the Lucian, spikes really hard with that first item. I want to expand on that for a moment, talk about the reason why it feels like Lucian really spikes first item. His mana is always a routine problem with trading, so getting this Essence Reaver means that Assum can look for a lot more aggressive trades and stay in lane a lot longer. So we'll see if he can utilize that first item spike. Maybe look for a skirmish here behind Guwon. With the dragon spawning, will push Vampire and HongQ out of the river for now.
I mean, this is the hard part. JDG do not want to fight at this point in the game, but they also don't want to give this dragon for free with the bot lane pressure going against them already. So they have to kind of make a decision here. Right now, they are posturing in the area. We'll see how aggressive they want to end up playing this out, but this is the time of the game where if you lose a fight, it could be drastically bad, as Guwon could look for a wraparound here.
Gala has summoners, including his exhaust, and there is a tempered fate. The Vampire will fire now. Gala going to stay into it to try and buy time. And that well-placed ultimate from Vampire shuts down the dive look for Guwon, and more importantly, cedes control of this river back over to JDG.
Yeah, but Vampire's got to be super careful here.
Yeah, Vampire going to flash away from a ward hop from Guwon, so not even any big spells coming out from the Lee Sin. It's Vampire's flash, and now Gala disconnected from the rest of JDG, and he has no way to get back over towards them.
Yeah, I mean, neither top laner has teleport. NIP have full control over this river. There's no way JDG can fight. They burned Bard ult and Bard flash.
Hoya's
they
walking.
Would be at a huge losing disadvantage if they took this.
All right, here we go. Dragging down about 3K, 50-50, not on the cards here. Aggro drop, portal through, gets Vampire back out of dodge. Guwon with the Sonic Wave kick, will get the smite, and kicks JunJia away from him. 2 dragons opening up for NIP, and a ward hop to safety should get Guwon back out with style. The only repercussion, some plates and gold back to Xiaoxu, but the same win con from game 1 open back up for NIP in the Drake pit.
Definitely a little risky there from JDG. Trying to play on the edge of danger. They almost come away with the kill onto Guwon. It's very well played by the Lee Sin landing that smite, so definitely a lot of credit to him. But overall, ends up being fine for Ninjas in Pyjamas. They start stacking those dragons. A good win condition for them. Ultimate's popped on the top side here, but probably just that ultimate chicken as you always talk about.
Yeah, I mean, you know what? You're right. I should have trusted my own game. I was like, Hoya really looks like he wants to return fire for a kill here, but as you pointed out, just trading health bars and ultimates. Hoya, though, should be able to get back here in a bit nicer shape, or I even like this before. They're lane swapping, so Hoya's going to hold on to this TP advantage. Kman with a Rift Herald about a minute out, something to keep our eye on.
Yeah, something that I really want to call out here. Care did a great job of finding those kills onto JunJia in the mid game. He's still a couple of minutes behind HongQ in terms of his Roa completion, and that does open up a little bit of an opportunity here for JDG, who are going to have that stacked Roa a little bit faster. If they're really, paying attention to the game state, they could actually take advantage of that relatively well here. Certainly something to keep an eye on if they do want to go for a fight in, a couple of minutes as we continue to go along, but Herald going to be spawning in 25 seconds onto the top side. We see the bot lanes have made their way to the mid lane for that push pressure. It's all just about what that side lane can look like at this point, and that's where I think JDG can really get their big advantage.
We are at that weird point where top and mid laners are meeting on the side waves here, and you can see that HongQ's taking a special advantage of that. I wonder if he... All right, now Hoya's going to stop his base, so he can still stay down here. And I do want to point out with this Herald up, that with TP advantage and with Realm Warp up, NIP actually hold a lot more pressure across the map than JDG can at this point, and maybe that's why you're seeing Guwon head charge towards the Herald and at least get it started, but he spots JunJia maybe looking towards his AD carry, and that will slow things down once more.
Yeah, it's definitely a weird game state here as NIP want to try and pressure both the Herald and the mid lane tower, but they've separated.
He's going to face check into JunJia, has to pop the Breath of Life to get the healing here as the culling also comes out.
JunJia on the way.
Two ultimates and now has to use the Crescent Guard. Ward hop, stun still lands. Gala going forward, the Arcane Shift, but he goes too far forward and he gets insect right back into the waiting arms of Zhuo. Another highlight from Guwon, and now all bets are off. Realm Warp onto 3 to go after JunJia. Guwon hops back over the wall, but into the waiting arms of HongQ, who lands the stun and sets his cold fangs down onto Guwon. And now everything's getting a little bit crazy. Flanks coming on all sides, but NIP want to get out of dodge. It's Zhuo to flash over the Rift Herald wall. Hoya waiting on a hop of his own, gets back out of safety, but Xiaoxu wants to chase down with HongQ. Counter-strike stun, only going to find Hoya, but JunJia will re-engage as Hoya goes back into the mini form and goes back to base alongside his support. Nice turn led by HongQ. JDG are able to survive the highlight from Guwon.
It's a big play from NIP that looks gorgeous to start things off, but HongQ's positioning in this entire exchange is about as good as it gets on Anivia. I really do think that this was the fight for NIP to break the game open, and they're just not able to pick up the win. We're going to get a replay of how this starts. This looks pretty good for NIP because look at the Rise having the inside track here. It's going to take a little bit longer for Jax to be able to arrive. Once that TP comes through from Hoya, you theoretically are in a position where you can win this. The Insect onto Gala is a free kill onto the AD carry, and at this point, as long as Guwon can survive for long enough to be able to make his way out, you are in a good spot. Realm Warp comes through, and JunJia looks like he is pincered, but getting over the wall with
Vampire.
that. Yeah, no, Vampire just being able to get his jungler out, and then HongQ with the perfect positioning to deal as maximum amount of damage as he can in this fight. It really is well played from JDG. This is the timer where NIP are stronger from a team comp perspective. It does not matter. When you have the damage coming through as consistently as it was for HongQ, and with Vampire playing this well on the Bard that is always banned out against this team, you can't be surprised when they walk away with a win.
And they're walking into a near 2,000 gold lead, but Cloud Soul still a big point of emphasis as JunJia goes in with the Crescent Guard, but gets kicked out by Guwon, so both junglers are going to drop their ultimates as the Cloud Drake, the Cloud Soul point potentially for NIP is mere seconds away.
That's a very big pickup here. Gala's in danger.
Nice.
Gonna be able to pick up the kill.
They're looking to try and break this mid-tier 1. They should be able to.
Yeah, mid-tier 1 seems like the priority. Dragon is spawning here. I'm really intrigued to see how much NIP want to put into that. Lee Sin is in the area. You have to contest this if you're JDG. This is the time of the game where you need to be pushing your advantage.
TP from HongQ joins right back into the fray here. trying to get wrestle control of this mid lane wave. TP for Xiaoxu if he wants to join for a 5v5. It's Guwon with his heralding the attention of this dragon, trying to burn through its health bar. Awesome now steps up to try and do so. Hoya on the front lines, body blocking his Meganar. JunJia doesn't even get a shot at it. It's Xiaoxu with a big flank TP, but the Realm Orb flanks out the flank from Xiaoxu, except for Care, the guy who dropped the Realm Orb himself. We'll just have to try and mosey his way on out, and thanks to HongQ stun going just a bit far behind, NIP do get out with Soul Point, just at the cost of some of their structures.
JDG are going to get a lot of gold off of this play, but the win condition is secured right now for Ninjas in Pyjamas. Assum is in danger here if he's not careful. Looks like he's going to be able to protect the tower.
Xiaoxu also gets the tier 1 on the bot side. Is a very Bard-esque back there from Vampire, is almost clipped down by Guwon. Hoya on the chase here for Xiaoxu, who did TP down, gets the tier 1 turret, hops away from the Sonic Wave. Guwon gonna land the slow here, has the kick back up, gonna kick away the counter strike, so no stun lands. Excellently Sin play there from Guwon, and he's gonna reward Hoya with a big old shutdown.
Really nice to get some gold onto Gnar. That makes the game a lot more playable towards the back end of these 5v5s as Hoya might have just face checked.
All right, he's got the Mega Gnar health bar, but the Tempered Fate will clip him as he goes mini. Nice little tech there from Vampire, showing why he is one of the premier bards of the LPL.
Vampire has been so good throughout this entire game. We are seeing why teams are so hesitant to give him his bard. I was shocked that it made it through the ban phase. Was definitely not surprised to see it first picked by this team, and they're making use of it.
Oh, exhaust onto Assum as he flashes into JunJia's waiting arms because Vampire's there. He doesn't get the stun. Assum trying to kite back. Zhuo, does he have enough healing? No cozy campfire. Just a cold trip back to the fountain.
Every play is just Vampire is there and he's not supposed to be. I mean, it feels like literally every single exchange and fight that we are getting is just separated by who can land those major stuns. Assum doesn't have the damage to break through like he did in game 1. Those flashes, going forward, taking down Gala, destroying him in these fights. It's not the same game state, and he's getting punished pretty heavily for it right now. 3k gold lead for a JDG comp that I think is much better at executing in the later part of the game. Their side landing is going to be so dangerous with these grubs, and IP still have their win condition in about 2.5 minutes here with that Cloud Soul, but they're going to have to try their best to make sure they don't throw that away.
I think priority number 1 here, Kman, is to try and punish the side laning and maybe just sack waves and mid or top right now, because we haven't even seen HongQ go into the egg. He's 4-0. He's had his passive up this entire time. He needs, to be shaken to his core. He's been allowed too much time to do whatever he wants. Has one of the biggest gold leads. Both of those scaling items done. That seems like a clear game plan to me for NIP. Easier said than done, though.
Yeah, it's definitely easier said than done. That is definitely the way that you can say it. Even if you do successfully dive this Anivia, where's the follow-up damage, and how do you end up taking down this Jax or Xinjiao at that point? The Bard has been so dangerous.
God, Double Gnar ultimate. We want Sonic Wave. Resonating Strike through. JunJia. Crescent Guard has to be used defensively again, as JDG will kite back towards their part of the map. Like the look there from Hoya nonetheless.
I mean, the big problem here is that Ryze is on the top side. He has to answer this Jax for a majority of the game, and he's so much of the team fight damage right now for NIP. Makes it difficult to even find these picks, because if it's just a 2v2, like, yes, you're able to get that burst down, but the disengage is really easy, and if you overextend, you are just dead. So, plays have to be made onto the bottom side here.
Well, they're looking at HongQ, but no Sonic Wave. No real problem for HongQ as he puts the wall back up and uses the Glacial Storm for some damage. Yeah, you talk about the team fight damage really having to be in Care's pocket. It's because even with the gold lead he's had all game, Assum, this is partly why I feel like Lucian is a problematic champion in the meta, and it is very, hindsight-based right now, Kman, the fact that into this draft, it just feels really hard. Ezreal outranges you, Anivia can threaten a stun outranging you, and the Crescent Guard, I mean, it takes away all that extra damage like the culling. So it's been really tough for Assum to find avenues to even look for those big burst trades we know Lucian for.
I mean, we saw him in that last exchange have to dash into the Crescent Guard just to try to do anything in the fight, and that's never a great place for Lucian to be. I think at this point, best case scenario is you're probably playing him like an assassin. You either find the Bard or the Ezreal and you try to burst them down as quickly as possible, and then hope and pray that Care can kind of be the one to capitalize on the engage coming in from the other side. This comp does have a lot of tools to pick off threats. I mean, the Milio's okay with that, but really, the Lee Sin, the Ryze, the Gnar, you do have a lot of pick. If you can you know, get onto one of these targets that isn't HongQ with the egg, then you could potentially have some damage to put through.
Awesome. Using the culling there, just maybe zone out Vampire. This is a sneaky mission here from Guwon and Karen. As we say it, they are spotted on this Baron two-man game they were trying to play as the Dragon on the bot side of the map spawns. So NIP were maybe trying to put JDG in that classic chokehold of, oh god, what can we deny, Baron or Dragon? And they're back to the same exact strategy.
Yeah, I mean, they are trying to pressure out this Baron. They say, hey, if you really want to take away Soul from us, it's going to cost you the Baron, and that's going to be a trade that you don't really like. I understand the idea here from NIP. They don't necessarily want to do this for free, but it does give over the Dragon. You're basically completely ceding this Soul for yourself, so gonna delay the game at least a little bit here. Notably, Care finally has his fully stacked Roa completed on this Rise because it was so much later than HongQ. So we at least are at the point now where they're gonna be relatively even in terms of the stats that they have at their disposal, which was something that was a bit of a problem for them in some of these exchanges, but the longer this game goes, the harder it is to imagine this team ever getting back online with Lee Sin and Lucian.
They do come away positive on the gold play, right? Because Hoya gets that bot lane tier 1 to himself, and Kara gets to shove in a couple waves towards that top side. But like you mentioned, they need to find fight wins now, and all they're getting is a flake from Xiaoxu out of nowhere. Good stun there to come up from the sort of realm warp out of Care. JDG do have to huddle as 4 here. Kara on the front lines holding him at bay. Temper Fate not going to find its mark. So Xiaoxu's flank was pretty scary looking, but it leaves with a whimper.
I mean, it's crazy how much damage you could have done there if Lucian culling actually hurt at this point in the game. Unfortunately, that doesn't really seem to be the case for anybody on the front line. We're dancing around the Baron. I'd be surprised if JDG want to go for the Xiaoxu's in base.
It's just so hard for NIP to feel confident about going head-on to a 5v5 into this team, how they've scaled up by this point. It's such a tough place to be in because you really feel, Kman, the JDG recognize how strong they are as a 4-man unit, or then even a 5-man you bring in Xiaoxu. So NIP, they want to look for these pick plays, but JDG know that's exactly what could really let NIP back into this one.
Yeah, and I think there are some notable things to take a look at on the bottom of your screen here. Hoya using teleport to get to that play really does matter for side lane pressure, and being able to answer out the shove that Jax notably is going to put on with something like Baron available. Jax does have that TP. Also worth noting, Care doesn't have TP at all. He has the Ghost, and HongQ is going to be able to play those side lanes more efficiently. So you got to make plays like this actually work out.
God. Yeah, he tries to blow up Vampire. JunJia here to cover the Crescent Guard. Breath of Life comes out from Zhuo is awesome. Really just struggling to get that damage out again. The Crescent Guard, Lucian doesn't feel like he can ever really fight. So everyone walks away just a bit more battered and bruised. Still with some key ultimates up, though.
I mean, ultimates are available, but to what extent, to what end here, as JDG are going to have the inside track on the Baron. They are going to be able to get as much vision as they want down. Look at their comp. It's going to be really difficult to walk into them. Anivia is probably the scariest champion to have to face check in the meta at the current moment. I mean, unless you want to consider Zoe a part of the meta now with, you know, some of the play that we've seen from her. But this is not exactly an easy game to play out from NIP's sake. You got to start finding these picks. I really like how you're trying to absorb pressure in side lanes, but Air is constantly having to just check the Jax and re-push him back out, and it doesn't really seem like you're ever able to find those kills. You have to find 1 or 2 members isolated, and to do that, you need to get as much vision control as possible.
And that's why I really want to continue praising JDG for how passive they're playing, because there have been spots where they can like look to respond with a fight of their own, play into the NIP stack as they push too far forward, but they just recognize every passing minute this comp ages like fine wine, and that's why they're just waiting for, you know, that super scaled up Anivia. You got a 3-item Anivia already, waiting for like a 3-item Jax and stuff like that, but Vampire gets caught and blown up out of nowhere. It ruins that plan. Awesome finally gets to step up, push out some serious damage. He flashes after HongQ. Crescent Guard comes out from JunJia, but he's got to flash away from a Realm Warped in Care that does not get that Rune Prism, but 1 pick is all NIP feel like they need, Kman. They're onto the Baron for real this time.
I mean, if that's not a caster curse, I don't know what is. They immediately play super undisciplined, and Vampire ends up dying. Baron is started. This could be gone.
TP in. 5 versus 4. JDG need a steal from JunJia, but he's not even going to get into the pit. It's Xiaoxu that's trying to herald all of NIP as this fight splits out on 2 forms. Guwon going to secure the Baron on one side. Hoya will be the casualty. Xiaoxu flashing for a 3-man counter-strike. Does find the kill onto Assum. And now it's HongQ and Gala, the 2 damage dealers that need to step up. Gala flashing forward to set up the flank from JunJia to get onto Zhuo. Care gets out of dodge. The recall will not stick here for Guwon. And now he's got to fight his way out. But it's not a winning battle. It is a soon-to-be memorial for the man that secured the Baron. It comes at a cost for NIP. Only Care survives wearing the purple banner.
I mean, at least it's someone, but at the end of the day, that is not good for ninjas in pajamas. You are looking at a situation with Dragon spawning in 40 seconds where you need to be on the inside track towards that objective, and you are not going to have that tempo. We're going to get a replay of how this starts. Vampire is just playing way too greedy. He's been able to get away with a lot of these more aggressive positioning mistakes throughout this game because he's very adept at being able to survive on the Bard, but NIP say not this time, and they do the right thing. They force this Baron. The problem is they're not aggressive enough in trying to punish the positioning coming out from JDG. Hoya is completely isolated. Once Xiaoxu is on the flank onto Assum, you have to hope and pray that you're bursting this down because it's clear that you're not going to help your top laner. Hoya buys as much time as possible, but you cannot kill this Jax quickly. That flash counter-strike is gorgeous from the top laner, and it really sets up for the rest of that play to go their way. Now with Dragon spawned, NIP have to try and fight this out for Soul.
Such a weird spot because it's not soul pointing for JG, so you feel like you can give it. But NIP, they need to win now, but they don't even get into the pit. Instead, HongQ gets sent into the egg form. How well can JG stall? The Crescent Guard for JunJia is so valuable here. HongQ will be resurrected. JunJia with the GA will drop into his own stasis. HongQ takes the portal out to safety. Hoya's trying to hunt him down, but he can't throw the Bard at him into safety. JunJia will get cut down by Assum, who's gliding around this fight all on his own. JDG gets split apart and pulled down from the seams. NIP out of nowhere. Ace home JDG.
They ace them, and they're going to be able to use this pressure to be able to break open the base of JDG. That is a massive team fight. The gold lead has evaporated for JDG. And who is it but Assum, who, as you said, was gliding on that Lucian in that exchange. They might not get the Dragon, but I think they're going to feel pretty okay with this trade, as they are now in a position where they can continue to push. That's what happens when you pop egg. You can win team fights. As we get a replay of exactly how this broke down, NIP just say, screw it. We're not going to get the Dragon, but we can burst down this Anivia. The egg is popped for the first time this game, and look at the lack of damage coming in from JDG. Gala doesn't really have the gold at this point to be zoned out. Guwon once again just absolutely styling on the AD carry. Hoya ends up following out both of the damage dealers to separate this fight, so JunJia has no backup, and Assum diving in, diving out, going back and forth, and Guwon on the back end picking up a double kill. It's perfectly played by the main carries of NIP, and somehow, some way, in a game where they're outscaled, they've gotten back into this one.
And they've cashed in some serious gold to the tune of a lead by just a mere 1,000. Also, really want to shout out our main man Zhuo there. The reason they could get that egg form out of HongQ, the Breath of Life, perfectly in time with the Anivia stun that HongQ thought would save him. It brings up, you know, an important time to maybe look back. Hold on. JDG are going hunting. All right, no, this should be fine. We talked about Zhuo, guys. I want to show our cool graphic, guys. Man, they really think somebody's out here, Kman. There's nobody except Hoya at the tier 2 tournament. All right, Zhuo with JDG versus without. You know, it's an interesting stat to look back even to last year. So, just saying, man, Zhuo owning JDG right now, maybe making a little more sense than we thought.
Hey, Zhuo's been on fire over the past couple of months. He was really important towards this team getting into Group Ascend anyways, and he really did save the season for JDG and give them a chance to be able to represent their region, regardless of how 2025 ended up going. You know, obviously that was a team that was kind of lost before JDG, or before Zhuo ended up joining and replacing Wink. He has been critical to NIP's success throughout the beginning part of the year as well, and this bot lane continues to step up. There's going to be a number that I'm really excited to show you, Slayer, in just a second. But 1.5-ish K gold lead is basically irrelevant at this point in the game for NIP. That number that I'm really excited to show you, 4.1 thousand for Assum. Down on the bottom side. A little bit of an AD carry difference in terms of the items and gold available. That could really matter in this late game.
Pulse check, Gala. Wake up. Wake up, man. Your team's Your team's about one bad team fight away from a 1-3 start to split 2, and they need you desperately, okay? We've talked about in Game 1 how JDG don't always play towards HongQ well in team fighting. That's normally because they like to play towards Gala, which was a lot more reliable outside of this year. Oh, Guwon. Thank God he's playing Lee Sin, bro, or that's a dead jungler.
I always get a little bit nervous when I see the observers toggle off the vision. That's never a good sign that someone's in a good spot at that point, but they're going to be able to survive. They continue to push in. Baron is spawning in 45 seconds. That's likely going to be where a lot of the pressure is, but a minute on Dragon as well. Still Soul for NIP. We're still at the point where they just need one more. HongQ could be the target. Guwon has his Guardian Angel completed. That is a big, big item for Lee Sin to be able to dive into the backline. Expect these fights to be very chaotic as the Bartle's going to whiff.
Yep, one ult down, answer with a culling, and a TP from Xiaoxu. We really thought that was going to be a capitalizing play, so hey, you get that TP and that empowered TP out of the Jax. The GA for JunJia should be back up unless we fight right now, which, boy, were they threatening. Awesome. Listen, man, we can talk about Lucian as a snowballing champion, but when you get down to brass tacks, any AD playing for crit that's at 4 items hurts.
Yeah, I don't think it really matters all that much that Lucian doesn't do as much damage as Yunara. Lucian's still doing plenty of damage, so you definitely need to make sure that you're not ignoring this Lucian in the later part of the game. Definitely exciting to see how he ends up positioning. We highlighted him so much in the pre-show. He has been such a pivotal, successful piece for NIP. He's in a great position to be able to carry this game. He's dashing forward.
Oh my God, Kman. He needs the flash, he needs the Mikhails, he needs the breath of life, double cleanse. But Xiaoxu is caught in a precarious spot, goes into the stasis, ward hops back, Guwon looking for the big kick, but all he'll kick is HongQ into Hoya's waiting arms. The double knockup. HongQ desperately trying to get back out before his egg form gets popped. All of JDG is so very low, and it's Care that flashes and gets HongQ into the egg form. The Sonic Wave lands, the Resonating Strike isn't enough. Oh, the tempered fade, but it's only going to land inevitable and set up Awesome to run down the rest of JDG. Gala wants the highlight, and Gala blows a tire in and gets cut down to size. It's Awesome again to the win, and it's NIP knocking on JDG's base.
NIP don't just want the fight, they want the game. They are pushing to end here as minions are moving up. They want this inhibitor, they want the base, they don't want to worry about Dragon.
Oh, this is greedy. They don't have grubs. It's just a standard cannon wave. It's 2 melees, but NIP know they need to go for the jungler now. Xiaoxu and JunJia, you need to make the play here. Counter-Strike stun onto Care. JunJia goes on to the other side of the fight, and Awesome is just untouchable with his partner in crime, Zhuo here. Vampire trades in as we lose our jungler, but just as quickly as he goes in, Vampire gets deleted. It's Awesome again. Awe-inspiring Awesome has got NIP a 3-1 start to split 2 Group of Sen. Down go Jindong Gaming.
Oh my God, Slayer. What a game. A game that looked impossible. It looked like it could not be won. NIP were getting outscaled. You're Lee Sin, you're Lucian, you're down 3,000 gold. We do not care. Confidence was the word of the day. I think confidence came through at the end. Every fight that NIP needed to win, they came out and outperformed their opponent. They outplayed them, styled on them with the Lucian and the Lee Sin as well. And they're looking at a 3-1 series start.
Wow. And you know what? I kind of sold a little bit trying to bring this conversation up right as we went into the game 2, Kman, so no better time to circle back to it now. 3-1 start for NIP. They've now beat JDG in a series. You know, they have other wins against former Group of Sen teams of Split 1. At what point can we already start talking about NIP as a team that might have their place in Group of Sen for Split 3 already carved out?
Oh, I think we're beyond that conversation for me.
Oh, we are.
I'm asking myself, hey, we're pretty open right now in the LPL. Is this a top 4 team in the LPL? Like, are we having a conversation where you have to like worry about this team like going through the rest of the year? We've seen some upsets. WE was top 4 last year in the spring split. It's certainly not impossible for this team to be able to make a miracle run because all of the players on this team are playing at a high level right now.
Okay, man. You're too smart, bro. I didn't think about it that way. Listen, I forgot. Split 2 2025 was the WE run, right? So we're looking for another Split 2 Cinderella story. NIP, they are showing that, you know what, at this point, I don't even really want to call it a Cinderella story. The way they're playing in the regular split, they're going to set themselves up to be a contending seeded team. And WE were a loser's bracket gauntlet runner. This is not the WE were not 3-1 to start Split 2 last year. That's how I'll state it.
They were the opposite. They were terrible
They were
to start
terrible
their
to start
split
that split,
before they went on their big win streak. People were talking about strength of schedule with NIP, and while I do think that that was a fair discussion, the win over Weibo, I think, confirmed a lot to me that this team does have some firepower within them. I get that, you know, beating WE is not exactly the most, like, dominant victory of all time, and you weren't able to take down some of the better teams in the league. JDG is a team that went to finals, went to first stand. Like, this is a real team. Like, say what you want about the draft in Game 1 and, you know, the way Game 2 ended up happening. They outplayed them here today. Bot gap? Boy, am I glad that we highlighted that, because I think I am hastily typing bot gap in chat after this series.
Oh, man. I cannot wait. I cannot wait for these bottom lane conversations, man. You know, I actually think I did sign up. I signed up for the next LPL English podcast, which will come, you know, we're still a bit of times away. We'll switch over, I believe, to Monday, but Kman, I'll do us both the service, man. I'm going to bring some uncomfortable conversations to bottom lane talk, because form-wise, who are you really taking against the way Assum and Zhuo are playing right now? Right now, current form, right? Not like, don't blow it out of proportion. Right now, what other bottom lane do you like in Group Ascend?
Look, I mean, in terms of complete bot lanes, like, Jackie11, HongQ have been great. Their 2v2s are a weak point for them. They are awesome in the mid to late game, and they've been able to blow games open there.
Classic
Their
Jack
laning
though.
has really not been super good. Viper is perma weak side for BLG, and while that is a valuable trait for him, it's what the team has gone towards. He's not the focal point. There is no group,
right? Yeah.
Well, there's no Group Ascend team right now that plays for bot lane and succeeds better than NIP. Like, in terms of the form that we've seen. It's actually crazy. If you would have told me that at the beginning of the split, I would have thrown my entire monitor out the window. But somehow, some way, we are in a reality where that is a true statement.
Oh, man. Yeah, it's a fun time to talk bottom lanes, game, man. You know me. I could sit here and listen to you. I do sit down and listen to you talk for over an hour about certain regions. So I could sit here and listen to you talk about the bottom lane state of the LPL. Holy I mean, just you don't even listen to Kman. Just everyone look at the 80 carries right now.
Yeah, I mean, you've got 80 carry damage, you've got LPL gold graph. I mean, you've got everything. This is truly an endgame screen of all time.
Good.
You can possibly, we are eating good here in the LPL. I mean, just an astronomical ADC gap, if I'm being entirely honest with you.
He's like the highest. He's higher KP than his entire top side too. All right, guys. Due to the way that I don't know. Maybe not everyone's familiar, but the way LPL does the end of their series now, they hop right into the post-game interview. So we don't get to see, like, player of the game for our last game of a series, or, like, player of the series talk before we close things down. I'm going to save you the trouble. It's awesome. And it's only awesome. And there's no one else that needs to be in said conversation, Kman.
Yeah, I know that there was some talk amongst the first series that, like, there's 80 carry bias amongst the player of the games. I don't think we needed a bias today. I don't think we needed a voting bias for this one. Assum is your player of the game. He's your player of the series, and something tells me that this is the kind of performance that could land him in the conversations for player of the week.
That'll be very fun. That'll be some very fun convos, but unfortunately, we will have to kind of wind down some of those convos for now. I don't know, production, do we have updated standings? Why, yes, we
ask
do.
and you shall receive.
Ask and I shall receive. I mean, look at that. Is my top 3 top esports at IPIG? Am I taking crazy pills?
What I'm learning, Slayer, is that the play-in last split was OP. It's actually the 3 of the top 3 teams are all from the play-ins last split. So something must be going relatively right now. Obviously, a little bit suspect there with BLG, obviously being a team that a lot of people are expecting to do relatively well, but top esports has looked great. I'm serious. I'm not trying to overstate this. NIP beating JDG firmly puts them in the conversation for being a team that you have to watch out for, being a top 4 team by the end of Group Ascend. It's a long regular season, double round robin, but they've passed every test up until this point, and they get better every game. Their macro is better than so many teams, and this standings chart, I think, reflects that.
And also, you know, soaking the fact you said double round robin, you know, talking about like play-in stuff for playoffs at the bottom of Group Ascend and how they're going to have to battle for spots like we always see. NIP already have the series win over Weibo and WE, who are currently at the bottom of Group Ascent. So, like, even further gives them more room to operate as, like, a higher-seeded team that can play continuously with that confidence. Man, it's just so refreshing, Kman. We talked a lot about NIP, but top esports, I'll take a moment to say that Jackie Love coming back is a big thing, but I think, their top laner and support have really leveled up alongside Jackie Love returning to make TES a really big threat. IG, we felt like upgraded, at least me personally, at every role, maybe except support. All their players have stepped up. Renard's actually playing decently well, too. It is a very fun time to watch the LPL, unless you're a fan of, the juggernaut teams that always usually seem to rule the nation. This is for all you smaller fries out there, except IG fans. You guys are the biggest fan base. My bad.
I think even Weibo fans are starting to get back into it a couple of days ago with that win over Invictus. You're starting to feel the momentum and the vibes come back around. That team is never, able to be counted out. But again, you're absolutely right. So many players coming back in and dominating. TN, for me, a player who didn't even play in split number 1, might be the leading case for MVP right now through the beginning part of the split. He's been unbelievably good for that team. Mako has made such a big impact for Invictus as well in terms of being able to return to that roster. It's so fun. Like, the LPL coming off of an international win, going right into what I consider to be one of the most fun starts to a regular season we've gotten in recent memory. How can you not be excited about this league right now?
How can you not sit here wanting more? Unfortunately, we can't give you that, but we can take a look at our schedule going forward for the rest of the week here. There's some pretty big bangers. As we can already see here, we are currently at the Saturday window now, which is all Group Ascend. IG, BLG, very fun. JDG are going to be right back at it playing Weibo, and then, I'm super excited for Sunday too, Kman. I can say now I will be on that BLG AL series you would expect to be closer, but maybe not as close as AL currently been playing, so.
I don't know, man. AL look a little different right now. I think it's fair to say that the confidence has been sapped from that team and that a lot of their decision-making in the mid-game needs to improve. BLG is certainly not the team that feels like a get-right kind of series, but they were able to pick up a couple of wins against BLG in the regular season last split. So, we're already coming off of a crazy showcase. We're still so early on into the regular season, this double round robin. I'm not counting any team out, especially with, NIP winning today, Weibo Gaming winning earlier this week, BLG losing their first series to top esports. It seems like something is in the air in week number 3, and I could not be more excited about that.
Yeah, and so wide open means anyone could really take hold and run away with the regular season here. Of course, our NIP squad taking center stage in that conversation. The final conversation I'd like to have is the formulaic thank you. We always close the show out, but it goes to some very important people. So as always, like to close out the show by saying thank you very much to our elite coffee supporters, that being Aaron Soup and Mong. Their continued pledge financial contributions help level up the broadcast and give back to the cast and crew who strive to give you an English LPL product every single darn day. That will close out our show, folks. Here, Kman, it's a joy, my friend. It was a joy once again. Even if I am envious of the fact that you already got to sleep and I now have to sleep, I am happy that I get to go slumber off of this NIP 2-0 win.